Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 107. Tonight on the cast, we're going to be talking about the new DC movie called Blue Beetle. If you're new to the channel, make sure you drop a follow. Oh shit! Leave a subscription on the channel. Sorry, and if you leave a like on the video. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that, we are back on all the podcast channels. So if you're listening to us, come over to our YouTube. You can hang out with us live. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zebrewolf. Without further ado, here we go. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Not too bad, not too bad. Sorry, my phone made a noise in the middle of it there and just completely fucked up the intro. For
I was like, oh no,
we're gonna. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the hell is this? How are you, bro?
I'm great, man. I just got out of the theater,
and yeah, you're literally just finished, right?
Yeah, I just finished it. I had to run to the grocery store to grab some stuff, and then I ran in, and I was like, I gotta take a massive piss.
Love it. Yeah, look, for anybody who's listening to this and they haven't seen Blue Beetle yet, it's a brand new movie. It's only out a couple of days. I'm going to throw a big spoiler warning up on the screen, and maybe come back and check this out on a replay after you've watched the movie if you don't want to hear any of the spoilers for the film. So, yeah, look, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to just dive straight into it?
Sure.
What did you think? Give me an out of 10 first of all.
Out of 10?
It's fresh in your mind. What do you think? Like, what would you rate it?
Honestly, like an 8.5.
8.5? Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty high, dude.
Yeah, well, at first I was like, oh man, this is turning into a 4. This is a 4. This is a 4. And then halfway through the movie, it starts getting some balls, and then I'm like, all right, it's getting there. And then it got to some serious shit, and then I'm like, all right, now it's okay. All right, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, cool. So from what I mean by that is that at the beginning of the movie, I felt like the acting was a bit odd. I think the main character did a really good job, though. I think he was doing fantastic, just portraying Jaime. I think it's Jaime or Jamie. We could say either way. And the love interest, I felt like she had I looked up her profile, and she has been in a lot of TV shows and a couple movies here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all very Spanish related.
Yeah. So this is her first kind of
English
global movie or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And so at first I was like, oh, it's a little rickety here and there, and I was like, okay, well, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I saw what she's done in the past, so she's probably got some range here and there, but she wasn't too bad. I think at the beginning though it was a little bit like but I would say almost nobody was annoying. Almost nobody. The only person that really gave me some issues was pretty much the sister, because it's always the brother or sister family member that's over the top.
Yeah.
And it's not really too much of the fault of the actor. Maybe that's what they were given in terms of direction.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I know they're trying to appeal to some of the kids.
Yeah.
But it was just like, man, I really don't need a joke about you being like, I'm gonna go take a shit. Watch out for me.
Yeah.
What? Come on. We're better than that now. We're over that kind of stuff.
But that really didn't bother me that much. I was way more bothered by the grandmother, where
really?
where she went on the mission. How fucking stupid is that, bro? And she's I got a big chain gun, and it was real cheesy, and she's just they were doing the hands to her face and all, and she was like, yeah, I'm cool and all. I was like, oh, this is just awful.
Dude,
that was really bad in my opinion, and I think it's a cultural thing or something. There's a disconnect somewhere, people don't act like that where I'm from, and you know what I mean. If I was in trouble, my grandmother would be the last person that would be trying to save me. You know what I mean? It's
right.
I don't know, bro. It felt so weird to me. It was really strange, really strange. And I get the whole kind of Mexican family thing. It's very different to where I'm from, but I don't know, bro. I was lost with all that stuff. It was a bit too much for me now. His whole family went on the rescue mission at the end of the film. It's outrageous,
right? But at least
that's just crazy to me,
right? But at least they all didn't turn into Shazam.
I prefer that. To be honest.
Nope. Not me. I
Yeah.
hate that shit. Like I really like when you don't establish like the main character as the true hero, and you have to have like its family be also heroes in the sense, but like superheroes, like that just really irks me to the core. Like I can't do it. Now when they're already superheroes, like in the Incredibles, like that's fine. I'll take that. I love that. It's great. But in terms of who they are and what they've done in their past, like even the grandmother, like she said that she used to be a revolutionary. So it's like it explains what she's done in the past, and that she has the drive to do so. And it's like one of those things as well. I don't know if you've ever had this situation, but there's a saying that like your dad rests the whole time and like puts up with your shit until it's like no more, and then he's using all that energy to get up and like take you down. So like
Yeah.
I see it as that like she's just been resting, she's been kind of like doing her own thing, but because it's like bringing back that drive, that adrenaline, she's able to like do things that are ridiculous. Now I got to say though, like the sister is still like on my like shit list a little bit, but she
Mm.
did redeem herself here and there, especially with like the more serious notes, because I was just like, like she did a really good job portraying like the sadness in her heart and being able to like hug Jaime and like express how much she like in the sense missed him because he was gone for a while, and also
Yeah.
because of the the death of the father.
Hmm.
And it really hit. Like it really did hit. Like it felt great. Like it was one of those things where like, okay, well, so he has a bad heart. There's going to be this whole thing that's going on. He got hit in the face. He's probably going through like such hardships in his system, and then his
Hmm.
just heart gives out. And so like it's that moment where she like, and then she gets to him, yells out, "Call an ambulance" and whatnot. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's work. Like okay, this is doing great. Like you guys are figuring this shit out. Like it's creating a tragedy for the main character so that they have a reason to fight harder and to become a better person. And that's
Yeah.
what you see like in terms of Blue Beetle, like this mind link that he has with the computer. I can't remember what the name was. Um
Yeah.
but it was just it was great. Like I really appreciated all of that. The grandma thing, I get you. I really do get you on that. It's one of those things where it's like a cliche, like, oh, your family is like just tough assholes. But
Yeah.
like, at the same time, at least they explained it. Cause like
True.
there's movies
True.
where they don't, where they just straight up don't. And they're like, Grandma, how the hell are you able to lift that? Well, no, let's just kick some ass. It's like, no, she's like, you'll know what I've been through. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like even like the mother was like, "Oh, we'll talk about it later." Like it's one of those things, it kind of
Yeah, I
gives
know.
it gives that.
I understand. I understand. It's like the Irish equivalent would be like, your granddad was in like the IRA or something like that, and it's
Yeah,
like,
and he's
he's
just
still a
like lock and
badass.
load, motherfucker.
Yeah, but like even that though, I would find that ridiculous as well. Like, it's just it's not our sense of humor or anything like that. So for
Yeah,
me, I was sitting there and I kind of when that part happened, like me and my girlfriend looked at each other. It was just like,
I
what
totally
are we
get that.
watching here?
I
Like,
totally understand.
it was a rough one. But yeah, I to be honest, like the more I think about the movie and I hear you talking about it, like the more I actually dislike members of the family. The mother, the mother, I didn't care about at all. The sister, she was like annoying to me, but she was fine. I kind of understand the type of person that she is,
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, look, that's the type of person. She's a ball breaker and all this sort of stuff. Like, that's fair enough. I hated the uncle, and
really, I
yeah,
fucking love
well,
George
sorry,
Lopez.
he kind of redeemed himself towards the end of the movie, but I thought it was very strange. He was like the typical, like, Mexican fucking guy, like, you know what I mean? And like he's coming in
Right,
on the tuned up car and all this stuff, and like I was just like, this is like seems very cliche. And then out of nowhere, he just becomes a tech genius. I was like, that was a bit strange. It was a bit of a leap. And then like cause, like, in the trailer, he's like, calling Batman a fascist and all, and then it's like
right,
turns out he's a fucking tech genius himself. I was like, that was a bit kind of out of the blue. I was like, whoa, okay. But then like as the movie went on, then after that, he did become cooler and cooler. And then I liked when he like the main character thought that he was dead, and then he was like trying to avenge him or whatever. That was cool.
right.
That was cool. I
Yeah,
loved all that. And then like by the end of the movie, I really liked the guy, but he didn't have a good start for me. I was like, oh god.
like
The only people that I liked at the start was I could deal with the sister. She was fine in my opinion, and I liked the dad as well. The dad was cool, and that
yeah,
was
I
that was
love the
about that
dad.
was about it. Yeah, the dad was
Yeah,
great. Loved the dad. and I like the main character. He was in Cobra Kai. Like he's a cool kid in Cobra Kai as well. I really like him, and I like Jenny Cord as well. She was cool. I thought she was good. I thought she did a really good role. I think, to be honest, kind of going back to the whole family thing, I think it was slapped on a little too heavy for me. And again, that's just me. That's my personal preference. I don't
Yeah.
think, my family aren't like that anyway. Like I can't relate. Like, you know what I mean? Like my family wouldn't bring me to a job interview and I'll be standing outside beeping the horn. You go get him, boy. Like,
That was a
that
bit
just would,
much. That
yeah. But
was a
like,
bit much.
I'm sure there's families like that. Not my family, so I couldn't
Yeah.
relate to that at all. So, um, I guess just that's the way it is. Like, like me and my family, we all love each other, but there's certain levels to it. Like, and I think this was just, it was fucking escalated
Right.
very much. Like,
Right. They very much wanted to kind of go over the top with the Mexican family situation.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like I am half Mexican. I'm like my father's from Ecuador, my mother's from Mexico. Like not she's not from Mexico, but our heritage is from Mexico. She
that's
was
why
born in America.
that's why I was looking forward to kind of talking to you more. I was kind of saying this to my girlfriend as we came out of the cinema. We were both talking about it. Both of us fucking white Irish people, like, you know what I mean, like polar opposites to this, like, So I was kind of like, I can't wait to actually talk to Alex because I know you had a Mexican in you. So I was like, I wonder, will this movie resonate with you on a completely different level to me? Like, is this kind of what you grew up with? Like, that's why I was very, very excited to kind of talk to you about this, because I think we're gonna have two very different perspectives on Mexican culture. Like,
Right. Well, my family is more of my extended family. I did grow up
yeah,
with my grandmother. My grandmother actually raised me. She was basically my second mother. Um
yeah,
and it's one of those things where like when you see your grandma and you see your grandma being all tough and everything when like in reality you think that she's just this sweetheart.
hmm
That's kind of what hit home to me. That's why I was like, laughing at the fact that the grandmother was like a revolutionary.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
what what happened with my grandmother actually in real life was she actually lost her privilege to get citizenship because she was trying to do the right thing. She was trying to bring a child over to America and she
right,
got caught.
okay,
Um,
yeah,
so she could only afford like she could only get the green card. She could never be a citizen from that point. But like it reminds me of my grandmother because she was that kind of person that was like very kind-hearted and was willing to
yeah,
do what she could to like help someone, you know, you
get a
know,
better life, yeah,
right, because
yeah,
that was the whole idea. Is like things weren't as great in Mexico in the past, and so like they
mhm,
kind of migrated over to America.
yeah,
And there were moments where like they had to go live back in Mexico a couple times. Even my mother told me that she had to live there for about a year or so, and she hung out with her grandmother.
mhm,
And it is like a kind of it's a really a big family thing. It really is. But
yeah,
for me, I'm an only child, so like when I see the sister, I'm like, ugh. Well, like, but in reality now, like I do have a sister. Like I have a half sister born from my father's side. So
okay,
like I understand the feeling of being around a sister that's kind of giving you trouble.
hmm
Um, because I love my
hopefully
sister.
she's not listening.
Oh no, I hope she is listening. You cause me some trouble every now and then. I'm tired at the end of the day. um, but yeah, so like it's one of those things where I understand the kind of family that Jaime is like experiencing, but I never had that in its entirety. I've had my cousins come over.
Yeah,
Oh, excuse me. I've had my cousins come over. They've expressed like how much they love like hanging out with me. They like getting food from my grandmother. My uncles would come by every now and then because they wanted to say hi to their mother. Everybody like really lived really close to each other. So it was one of those things where like, okay, I can understand the whole family aspect. Everybody likes to be together and do
yeah.
things together. So like it's not a foreign thing to me as opposed to you. Like I totally understand like the standards are completely different. Um
It's different. It's literally different worlds, bro. Like
yeah.
like honestly, if you were to see like rural Ireland, like it's so different to Mexico and even America and everything. Like the first time I was in America, I was born in America, and I moved over to Ireland when we were very small. So I've lived most of my life here, but I'll never forget the first time I was actually in America as an adult. Like, and I was like, this is a completely different world. It's so different. So I think the movie was like, if you could view the movie through my eyes, it'd be interesting to see, because I think we probably viewed that film very differently.
Oh, of
Just
course.
to kind of jump into the chat very quickly. Enviro Earth, welcome. Just asked, do we recommend Blue Beetle? And to be honest, if you probably missed the very start of the podcast, but the first question that I asked Alex was, what would you rate the movie? And he said 8.5.
Yep.
So to be honest, when I walked out of the cinema, I said to myself 7, and I thought that's fine. Like the movie, it had its ups, it had a couple of downs, but it was entertaining to say the least. Like I thought it looked great, like CGI wise, um, you know setting wise. I loved the city. It was like futuristic looking, but then the slums were right there, and you were very
Mhm.
much in the slums, looking out at the big city and stuff. And it felt like a lived in world or whatever. And I like, I don't know if you noticed as well, like when when he goes in to do the interview and you see the big core building. Did you see LexCorp beside it? Oh,
Yeah,
that was
that was
that was
sick.
sick. Like that was
I
sick.
was
There was
so excited to see
loads of
that.
little like kind of Easter eggs to the DCU, which I thought was really cool. Like the bit where after he first turns into Blue Beetle, when he's
Mhm.
like wakes up and he's naked on the couch, and you can hear like the news in the background. They're talking about Bruce Wayne on the thing, and like, there was references to Superman and stuff like that. Like I thought it was really cool. It felt kind of lived in.
Yeah,
The only thing that annoys me about that whole thing is that the movie was made while the DCEU still existed. Like that's fact. But now, like James Gunn has said that this is technically the first movie of the DCU, so it's like, when they were making the movie and making all these references, like the Batman that they were talking about was definitely Ben Affleck. But, the Superman was definitely Henry Cavill, but now
of
it's
course.
kind of got different meaning and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
Like there was a part in the movie as well. I don't know if you noticed it, but Jenny Cord, I think it's towards the end of the film where she's just like, he's like, "Oh, will I ever see you again?" or something like that. And she's like, I hope so." I turned to my girlfriend and I turned to my girlfriend during the movie. And I just went, probably not. Because I think James Gunn kind of put a stipulation out there. He kind of said, "Look, if this movie is a success, we'll continue Blue Beetle, and this will be the first film of the
Right.
DCU. If it flops, it'll kind of just be forgotten." So it's kind of in the balance of how well the box office does, whether the movie's actually going to be DCU or it's going to be DCEU, which is,
Well,
I feel very bad for the people involved, because like I think they have made a good movie. I just no one's gonna go see it, bro. And like the only people whose fault that is DC. They fucked that up themselves when they announced the DCU and James Gunn and the potential or the partial reboot or whatever the fuck, or it was a full reboot when they first announced it. They just ruined everything that was coming out this year. Like nobody wanted to see the Flash. The people who didn't like it because the fucking CGI was terrible. We
mhm,
talked about it in a previous podcast. Go back and listen to it. Like, but if you're a moderate comic book movie fan, or kind of semi-moderate, and you hear that this universe is coming to an end, you're not going to waste your money going to see these films. It's like, this is a dying universe. It makes no difference. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
right.
I think they really shot themselves in the foot. Like this movie, I was only reading there before we went live. This movie only cost like 109 million to make. Like that was the budget.
Mhm.
And again, I got to talk about fucking Secret Invasion again. How the fuck did Secret Invasion cost $212 million to make when this movie looked 10 times better on the screen and it was literally half the price? I'm
Like,
like, well,
I think it's just all location, buddy. Like, I think that it really is. It's just them having
but
to migrate to different areas of the world just to make shots. And
dude,
because
dude,
other than that, the
sorry.
CG is like garbage.
Secret Invasion was shot in like random warehouses in England. I think they probably went to like, I don't even think they were in London. I don't even think they shot it in London. I think they shot it in like Liverpool or something. So they went to like a random town, a random city for like a couple of days, pretended it was London, and then they shot the rest of it in warehouses, and the CGI looked terrible. Whereas
Right.
I felt that the Blue Beetle movie was like, it felt like a lived in world. Like, it felt like they were on location quite a bit
Oh yeah.
shooting this thing. So I don't know. I don't know,
So
bro.
then they just ran with the money. Like, I
I
don't
I
know, like
really I really think so. I really do think so. Um, did you prefer Shazam 1 or Blue Beetle?
Blue Beetle.
I kind of I kind of preferred Shazam 1. I really like Shazam 1. I think it's a good film.
Fucking hate Shazam 1. I hate Shazam. I hate Shazam 2. I hate you all for thinking that it's like a fantastic movie. Like, this is something that I'm very strongly about. Like, Shazam 1 is just not doing it justice for me. I really think that Black Adam did a much better job, like portraying everything that was going on in terms of using those types of powers. not needing a whole group of like the Shazam family right away. Like and I could be wrong. Like it could be a thing where like I haven't read the comics as well, but I know for a fact that like in majority of the things that I've seen in terms of like the animated shows, animated movies involving Superman, Shazam, Black Adam, Green Lantern, and the rest of the DC characters, those characters can stand on their own. And so when I see Shazam with the Shazam family, yeah, the Shazam basically, it's like it just really doesn't resonate with me. Like none of those characters deserved that role yet. I know that they're incorporated within the comics, but I don't think that they deserve that. They really needed to incorporate that in the second movie when Shazam really needed help, considering that there were
Yeah.
so many other characters that he had to deal with. It wasn't just a single person.
I'll agree with you there. I think they probably used the Shazam family a little too early. They should have had a movie, maybe two movies with just Shazam, and
Yeah,
then in the third movie he learns to share the power with his brothers and sisters. I think
exactly.
then it would have been fine. But to be honest, I kind of like seeing the other Shazams, and they all have their own personalities and different powers and stuff like that. And it kind of, or well, they kind of use different power sets or whatever. I presume they all have the same power because it's coming from the same power, but or the same magic or whatever. But I
Roughly, I
think that they
think, yeah.
all, I think that they all have their own personalities and kind of choose to use the powers in different ways. I think that's cool. It kind of like reminds me of like Power Rangers or whatever, or any of these like kind of super teams or whatever. And I think it kind of works. Like but
Mhm.
I do understand where you're coming from. I think it was very much high paced, a little maybe too much, and it was weird that they had Black Adam, and then the Black Adam movie like had no reference to Shazam whatsoever, and
None,
then
which is so weird.
it was so weird, and like even not even like an after credit scene. And I think I had read a while ago, I think that there was some beef or something involved, that I think The Rock was asked to appear in an after credit scene in Shazam 2, and he said no or something like. And
Mm.
he didn't want Shazam in his movie because I think he wanted to do his own thing, which is ridiculous. Like, you're a Shazam villain, you know what I mean? You gotta
Right?
connect with
Like,
Shazam, like, but he wanted to do his own thing, and then he wanted to fight Superman. I think that was his plan for the sequel. He wanted to fight Henry Cavill, which would have been epic, of
right.
course. But what would have been more epic, and I said this back when we reviewed the movie, what you should have done was, and again, we none of this ever would have mattered anyway, but what I would have liked to see would have been Shazam showing up at the end of Black Adam, or like doing an after credit scene, connect them somehow, and then you have Superman going fighting Shazam, or fighting Black Adam in the second movie, maybe losing because like magic is a weakness for Superman. Then he realizes that he has to go and get Shazam's help, and then Shazam and Superman versus Black Adam in the
Mhm.
sequel would have been fucking epic, bro. Would have been
So I
epic.
the way I see your interpretation of this is how I would love to see this. This is my vision on that. I can agree with you 100% wholly on this because I love Shazam and Black Adam's like disputed concern basically for the fact that they're both the same type of character because Shazam has the same powers as Black Adam. Black Adam has the same powers as Shazam. There's really no difference. It's just which gods gave them their abilities.
Hmm.
So I know that with Black Adam, it's the Egyptian gods. With Shazam, I think it's the Olympian gods. Um, it's either
Something like that.
Olympian or yeah, it's something. But the way I would love to see is like a meanwhile in the future kind of thing. I know it might seem like a bit of a cliche, but we haven't seen a meanwhile in the future kind of like post credits thing in a while. Where like do you remember the scene in God of War, like the God of War 4, where you go and you finish everything, you go lay down, and then Fimbulwinter starts going through, and then you see him opening the door, and there's like lightning strikes and whatnot. And you say like, "Who are you?" And then you see the hammer of Thor.
Yeah, that was so sick, dude.
Right. So why couldn't they just do that? Like Black Adam, like kind of like resting upon the thing and then like showing that he's tired, falls asleep, and then has this dream, almost like a vision that he's fighting someone who has the exact same powers as him and he's overwhelming him. But then another figure comes out wearing the S logo and the cape
Yeah,
and like just standing there. And he goes, who are you? And then boom, credits, and then you're good. Like, because then that would implore or imply that he's fighting Shazam at this moment. Shazam is being outmatched because it's the exact same abilities, but he's a much more seasoned character or
Yeah,
warrior, and therefore help arrives, and then blackout, and it's credits, like
yeah,
or that's it. Like, get out of the theater. Like, you just got served a possible future.
yeah, yeah. I like it. Um, shout
Would
out
have
to
been
Liam.
so
Welcome
good.
to the chat, dude. Yes, this was criminal.
Really?
I'm not even gonna read it, but yeah, it's criminal. Um, I bet Shazam did better than Black Adam. So
I
I think
actually don't
Shazam
know.
one, Shazam one did quite well in the box office, but Shazam two was a complete flop. I think I only read there. I think what are they called? Cinema Culture or whatever on Twitter. They only put up a thing there that said that Blue Beetle is now officially the seventh flop from DC in a row, like
So
box office wise.
right.
Now, to be fair, Blue Beetle only has 100. Like the budget is low. Now I don't think they spent too much money on advertising, so I don't think they need to claw back as much money as they did with like the Flash, for example. So I think Warner Brothers might be okay. I don't know. I think this movie, if they can break even with Blue Beetle, I think they've done well. To be honest, you know what I mean. Like
Well,
I checked the numbers. It's sitting on something like, according to IMDb, which again they're a little bit behind. I don't think they have the numbers from today or anything, but I think they're sitting on like 46 million globally right now. So they're nearly at the halfway point to get the budget money back. But again, really they need to do 200 to regain the money.
see, that's the thing though, is that what I wanted to mention earlier was that I've noticed that the showtimes that I can see Blue Beetle are far and few between.
Yeah, I had to go during the day.
Yep.
So I wanted to see it in IMAX. And the only IMAX showings for me here in the cinema that I go to um was 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. I believe for the IMAX showings. So I had to like get my mother to mind the baby, and then we had to go at like 1 p.m., which I didn't really mind too much. I was kind of scared that I was going to be stuck in the cinema with kids running around and stuff, and I was like, please don't let all these kids come to see Blue Beetle. Um Thankfully, the theater that I go to, like the seats are actually quite expensive, so I don't think families were going to bring a bunch of kids to see it in that screen. They probably go to one of the like non IMAX screens because it'd be a
Right.
lot cheaper. So I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of the saving grace of it. So it was fine. So, but yeah, it was weird. It was weird going in the day. I haven't been to the cinema in the daytime in a long time.
Yeah,
Like we came out and it was like 3:30 in the day. I was like, oh my god, like we've the rest of the day to do whatever we want. Usually we're walking out and it's nighttime. We're going home to go to bed or whatever. So it was kind of a nice change of pace, but it was strange that the movie was only out maybe 2 days and they didn't have any kind of like prime time showings in IMAX. It was a bit strange. I'll agree
right.
with you there.
And like I really wanted to try to see it at 10 in the morning, 10:30, 11, something
Yeah.
before noon,
Mhm.
and nothing, no showings for any of the previous like showtimes.
Yeah.
It's like what's taking over, man? Barbie's still in the theater.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer's still in the theater. So like those are big hits. So like I get that you need to probably keep showcasing that so that you can keep drawing revenue, but because of the fact that there's two big movies that came out and then you have Blue Beetle, it's like you're really not giving it time to shine. This is
Yeah.
like, in my opinion, this is going to be a forced failure. It's not going to be a if it succeeds with the amount of time that it may have in theaters
Yeah.
and with the amount of slots, like if it succeeds, that'll be a fucking miracle. But I think they're forcing this to be a failure because
Well,
they want
I'm just looking while you're talking here as well. Barbie is sitting on almost 1.3 billion in the box office globally, which is
it's
phenomenal for
it's
them.
better than the Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like Warner Brothers' greatest movie, like performing movie in the box office,
Yeah.
which I'm sad that The Dark Knight lost the title because it was amazing. And I'm looking at Oppenheimer here, and Oppenheimer is a 717 million worldwide movie as well. So, that's two big movies
Back to back, basically.
back to back, yeah, which is great
There's
because,
no
obviously
room,
they're clawing back a lot of loss from DC. Like DC is losing them a lot of money.
of course.
Um, Enviro says in the chat as well, just but the Batman 2022 wasn't a flop. So sorry, that comment that I made about the 7 in a row or whatever, that was in reference to the DCEU. So they connected the cinematic universe movies. The Batman is like an Elseworlds movie; it's a solo thing. So, and to be honest, any Batman movie I think automatically gets
Yeah,
asses and
it's
seats because it's kind of, it's everyone goes to see Batman movies. You know what I mean? It's like a Spider-Man movie. It's going to do good no matter what because Spider-Man is one of the most popular characters in the world. Batman is the same. I did like the Batman movie. Some people didn't. I thought it was great. I would have preferred to see a Ben Affleck solo movie, to be honest, but Ben
wait,
wasn't in that mindset at the time. It was never going to happen, unfortunately. He was battling his demons in real life and so on, but it is what it is. It is what
you
it
got to
is.
let it go, buddy.
I know. I never will, but
Over.
I know. I know I have to let it go, but I never will. Fuck that. I want that.
Um,
I want my Batfleck movie.
and also in Enviro Earth, I just want to tack on. Shazam did 367 million worldwide.
The
Black
first
Adam
one.
did, yeah,
How
yes,
much? Sorry.
367 million.
Jeez, that's actually quite low. I thought this
Uh,
was like because that movie came out in 2018, right?
uh
Was it 18 or 19?
2019.
19, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's kind of around the time of Infinity War, Endgame, kind of when comic book movies were at their highest. So I,
right.
I would have I would have thought that was like an automatic 600-700 million movie.
Because then people
Yeah.
would have the hype to want to go see
Oh
another
yeah, like
hero movie.
like that time for me, like I was, and I suppose I'm the worst kind of person to really judge this by because I go and see all the comic book movies, and I haven't missed a comic book movie in the cinema since like 2000. So I'm going to see them all, but I was hyped to go see that movie because we were on such a high after Infinity War and Endgame.
Mhm.
So like I was like, oh, give me more, like plug it to my veins. But yeah, wow, I'm
Uh,
actually surprised.
so guess how much Black Adam was?
I know Black Adam did quite like it did. Was it about 450 or something globally?
Uh, about 393.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Um, I
so in
think they did.
reality, like Black Adam was brought more people to the theater,
It
and
Black
I
Adam
think
did
it's
really well, and I think that pissed off DC because Rock went against them. In a lot of cases because they didn't want to
exactly,
bring Henry back and stuff like that. So yeah, it didn't go well.
yeah,
The fact that the movie did good as well just kind of rubbed salt in the wound. I think for
of
DC.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that had they given maybe they I don't know what the direction was for The Rock to speak within the show. I think it was very monotone, not
Mhm.
as well as it should have been. I think it could have been a lot more energetic and enthusiastic. But all in all, like all the other characters that were involved in the movie itself and having to deal with that demon, um, I thought it was fun. Like Pierce Brosnan did a great
He was
job as Dr. Fate.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal, bro.
And
Criminally underutilized as well.
right?
Like, give us, his origin. Like a solo movie with him would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Really loved him. Really loved him, and I liked Hawkman as well. Hawkman's not usually a character I'm
Hawkman was
too
pretty
fond
cool.
of. He was fucking cool in that film, bro. He
Yeah.
was. He was cool.
Um,
Um,
did I can't remember, but I think Hawkman and Hawkgirl both have an issue with like if they're too close to each other, right? Or if like
there's
or
actually
they're always destined to like be
there's
together or something.
they have a weird kind of story. So there's like more than one origin to their stories. Like it's kind of like DC changed their mind, kind of with the retailer. They like retold the story in a different way. Like if you look up Hawkman's origins, there's multiple origins for him.
Mhm.
One of them is like he's from Earth, but he like reincarnates, so he like never dies and all this sort of
Right.
shit.
Yeah.
And she's the same, and they're always destined to be together. And then there's another version of him where he's actually part of an alien race. There's like a planet of them, and that's the one that's kind of more shown nowadays in the comics and in like the animated movies and so on. But I
Yeah.
think the CW took the reincarnation route, which I thought was quite interesting in like Legends of Tomorrow and stuff like that. It was pretty good. But yeah, I don't know which one is like the newer version or the one that they kind of see as the true canon or whatever. To be honest, I don't really read any solo Hawkman stuff, but I find it interesting, and I thought
Mhm.
the version that they chose for this movie was cool. I liked them.
Yeah.
I really did
And
like them.
the, the way I see it though, like I think when you give the actor creative like changes or like give them creative rights, and they're allowed to kind of actually give a bit more enthusiasm or change to what the direction is on the scenes. I think that gives it a better flow. When you see things like, I would say, the 2008, like The Incredible Hulk, like I love that movie.
Hmm.
Um, Edward Norton really tried his best to make it as close to like comic relations as possible. Um,
Yeah,
but because like it's butting heads with Marvel and their visions, it drew tensions, and that's why he never got to come
yeah,
back. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I think is an issue with Marvel, Disney, and their actors, is that if
yeah.
they're not given creative suggestions or opinion, um,
Hmm.
then it just creates this discourse, and then the movie doesn't end up becoming as fun as it should.
Yeah,
So like it's just one of those things where I think that like when they did Shazam, I don't know who did I don't know which director it was. I don't know if it was like Levi or something, but Zachary Levi is a funny guy. I think he's a pretty cool person. Was he a bit over the top at times in terms of like certain jokes? Yeah, I think so. I think Billy should have been showcased a bit more here and there, just so that we can get a little bit more of an introspective of what kind of person Billy is, especially for the fact that he's an orphan and in foster care.
yeah,
Um, and it really turned into the situation of like it's just the kids. It's not Billy, it's just the kids.
yeah.
Um,
I think
and
the
that's
actor who played Billy aged up too quickly as well. Like in real life, I think he like kind of shot up, and they had to kind of write it into the story that he was turning 18 and he wasn't going to be a foster anymore. So it was kind of like they were ending the story themselves, really. Like, because like anytime you ever see Billy Batson in like comics or in like animated or anything like that, he's 11 or something. Like he's an
right.
actual child, and
The-
that's why the character of Shazam is the way he is, because it is a child in a man's body being a superhero. So he's gonna be goofy and childish because he is a fucking child. So
right.
I think they kind of like were skipped a beat there, because like even like every time in the second movie that he changed back into Billy, like it was like that kid looks like fucking 19 or something. He wasn't a kid. Like it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. But like I mean I understand what they were trying to do. They really wanted to make it more of a kids movie because
Yeah,
it's really designed to be that like Billy's an orphan. He has foster like parents, he has foster brothers and sisters. And so like including them is like a big plus, especially for kids, because then it's like, okay, so this is our Power Rangers now within the DC universe. So
yeah,
like that's a positive that I see from that. But in terms of me being an adult, I'm like, no, I really want to see him by himself. I really wanted Shazam to be the Green Ranger and to do his own thing for a while. You
yeah.
know, it would have been great.
Was
Does
Billy
Billy
actually
Bats
aged?
I think
I don't
like
know.
it
I don't know enough about Shazam to answer that question properly, but I'm gonna say in the comic books he's always a child, as far as I know. But DC tend to kind of reboot a lot, so I think they kind of go back and start retelling stories again. You know what
mhm,
I mean? It's not kind of 80 years in the making sort of thing, like
right. So I mean it's really a toss up, and for the fact that it's comics, it takes a very, very long time for any character to actually age.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's true.
and
Like
that's
I
what
always
that
kind of, I always kind of thought with Batman, for example, the way like Robin's always young and stuff like that. Like I always thought that the stories were kind of always restarted and retold and rebooted all the time. Um, but then I kind of realized as I started like reading comics, especially back in the day, like say like runs that were in the 90s. You know what I mean? They'd only have like one comic book every month, so if there was a Batman run that ran for like 200 issues, that would actually take years in our timeline. It would take years to tell that story.
right.
So I'm like, is it like one continuous story then? Like, like Batman has been around for 80 years in comics, but how long has it been for Batman? You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Exactly.
It's like it's actually only been 10 years for him. Like, so maybe, yeah, maybe Billy, I don't know. If you were to
Well,
pick up the Shazam comic, is Billy like 18 now or something? But he started when he was like
so
8.
so
I
the
don't know.
so the idea behind that is that like I just looked it up really quick just to kind of get an idea. The idea is that when Billy is in his normal form, he ages. He's a human, so he's aging like a normal person. But for Shazam, the actual hero character that he transforms into, Shazam is immortal.
Yeah,
So he's at like the peak human level, but as like this magical god that does not age and basically is forever. Same thing with Black Adam. Black Adam doesn't age. He's 5,000 years old. He does not age. So
yeah,
I think the idea is possibly that whenever Billy maintains his Shazam form, which a lot of the times, if you look into like the shows and the comics and whatnot, he does tend to maintain that form a lot more often than you see in theaters.
yeah.
You'll see that like it's possible that every time he transforms into Shazam, it stops the process of him aging.
How funny would it be if they did like a scene where he goes back to the foster home and it's like, Billy, how are you still 11?
Right?
It's like they're all old now. Like,
Right? They're like 80 years old, and he's
yeah,
like, "Yeah,
the
I'm still an
foster
11 year
parents are
old
about
kid."
to die. Like, it's like, you're still 11. What the fuck is going on?
But I think that's what really drives like the human spirit with Batman, because like he actually ages. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
Dick Grayson actually ages. He becomes, Nighthawk.
Nightwing.
Nightwing, God, which where did I get Nighthawk from?
Nighthawk is Nighthawk someone from The Boys or some shit? Nighthawk is a hero from somewhere. Might be DC anyway. You might
Yeah,
be in the right
possibly.
universe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'll look it up later. But yeah, so like it's one of those things where it really shows like when humans who are trying to be heroes age, they have to
Yeah.
become different. And so like the idea with Jason Todd, like he was killed, like he was technically killed at an early age, but in reality he wasn't. I think, well, was he thrown into the Lazarus pit? I can't remember.
He was killed when he was like 16. He was a boy, like, he was still a teenager when he died.
Yeah.
And then he came back as Red Hood. Like, I love Jason Todd and Red Hood in the comics. Like, I love reading like Red Hood and the Outlaws and all. Like, fantastic stories.
Mhm.
Love it. But yeah, he died very young as a child, and like that was in the 80s, maybe in the comics, and that was a big deal. Like, because I know they actually put a vote out to the public, and they actually voted, do you want to kill Jason or not? And the public voted whether the storyline killed him or not, which is crazy because no one liked him because he was like the first Robin to follow Dick Grayson, who was the real Robin. So everyone hated Jason. So they were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, kill him. Let's try to get Dick back." And then they get Tim instead. Like, so it's like shit. But yeah, poor Jason, man. The public voted to kill him, which is crazy. Because
Right.
I love him. I love him. Like,
But as
um,
with most characters, like you can bring them back at any point because you can always rewrite their story to be like, oh
yeah.
yeah, no, they actually survived the encounter. They were
Oh,
just in extreme like critical condition, and they were kept in the dark, and so then they retrained as such other character, and then they reveal it later.
yeah, but when they brought him back and he was evil and he became Red Hood and he wanted to kill Batman, all it was fucking phenomenal. And then he
Oh yeah.
kind of snaps out of it, and yeah, it turns out that a pit brought him back and it kind of twisted him a bit and all. It's phenomenal. If you haven't read any of the Under the Red Hood, it's a movie and it's a comic book. I suggest reading about doing both. Maybe watch the movie first. Jensen Ackles plays Red Hood and it's phenomenal, phenomenal. And then maybe read the comic book then after.
So,
But yeah, it's phenomenal. Love
so
it.
as a quick side, like change, not a full change of subject, but as a quick tidbit. So my mother came to visit, and we didn't have a chance to talk about this because I wanted you to know that while she was here, granted she only had 4 days,
Yeah.
we finished all 3 seasons of The Boys. She had never seen it before, and she's like, and
Hell
I
yeah.
told her like, "You gotta watch this." I said, "You gotta watch this," and it was at the point where like my girlfriend and I were talking in the kitchen or the dining table, and my mom's like the door's open and the lights are on, and I'm like, where the fuck is my mom? Like, shouldn't she be out here? Like, doesn't she want to like watch the show? And I walk into the room, and she's like got a little like tablet, and she's like looking, she starts smiling and laughing at me because I'm like, are you watching the show like in here? You can go watch it in the living room on the big
Yeah.
screen. And she's like, I just didn't want to bother you guys. I really wanted to watch the rest of the show. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, what
she
was the
she
reaction to the Ant-Man thing in the dick?
oh, she was like, that was so weird. That was gross, but like
Uh,
it was funny.
I don't think I could watch that show with my parents, to be honest. I just like, bro. Oh,
She absolutely loved it. She's like, now I'm addicted to the show. When's the next season coming out? And I'm like, I don't remember.
So funny that Gossip Girl is brought up because my girlfriend's actually watching it. Like my girlfriend is on maternity leave at the moment, so she's not working, so she has all this time during the day to do like nothing. And she's like, can't watch any of our shows, so she's like, I needed to watch something, and like Gossip Girl's on Netflix. I walked
Mm.
into the room one day and fucking what's his name, the Aquaman guy in thing. What's his name?
Oh, the Deep.
The Deep is in it. Like it's hilarious, bro. I'm just like, oh my god, so funny. He's awful in it. Like the whole show is dreadful. Like I'm like, how are you watching this? Like she's like, I just want something that's like mindless and I can just turn it on. I'm just like, just rewatch something. I'm like, I don't know how you're doing this. Like it's horrendous. So
Well,
bad. Like so bad.
uh,
There's a good
oh,
cast in it though, but Jesus, it's bad.
oh, but dude, I have a take like that too. Like most people love Friends. I'm not a fan of Friends.
Yeah.
So, I know
I
most people like
I
like
love
so many
Friends.
people are
I love
just
Friends.
yeah. Everybody loves Friends, except for me
Mhm.
apparently. I just
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of laugh tracks. I really am not. So it
Yeah.
just
No,
really drives it out of me.
yeah, I think I watched Friends when I was very young, and I don't know when like when you're young, maybe you don't hear the laughing track too much, but as an adult, like it's all you hear sometimes. But I have that like kind of irrational love for Friends just since I was a child. Like I was watching some of the seasons of Friends as they aired new. Like I remember when
Mhm.
like Friends would be on every Thursday night, there'd be a new episode and all. So like I remember that. So I suppose I have a special place in my heart for Friends. But when I watch shows now, like sitcoms that I never watched when I was younger, all I can hear is the laughing track,
The
and it's
laugh.
like,
Yep.
"That wasn't funny. Why is the laugh there?" You know, it's like,
Right.
"Oh, that annoys me." Like, yeah, I won't talk shit about Gossip Girl anymore. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
No, no, and
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
was
really I'm
awful.
not talking shit about Friends either. I haven't really watched it.
Yeah.
I just don't think I would like it. I really
Oh, I
don't.
think if you didn't watch it when it was out, I think you've kind of missed it. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those shows where you had to watch it when it was new to kind of really get the magic of it.
Mhm.
Some of the shows they don't really hold up anymore. Again, I think Friends holds up for me, but trying to introduce somebody to Friends today that's never seen an episode of it before, I think they might be like, "What is this like?"
Right. So, with Enviro Earth, he's talking about have I ever watched American Dad or How I Met Your Mother? I have watched American Dad. I think American Dad is the peak of Seth MacFarlane's like comedy.
Hmm.
Um, because all the characters seem to hold up well. Everyone is given like their own story and nothing feels like it's just outright like
Yeah.
lowbrow.
Hmm.
There are moments where it can be lowbrow, but for the majority of the time being, like everybody in that show is like smart, conniving, mischievous, and it feels fun in that way. There's so many more things that you can do. But Family Guy is his bread and butter because it's like, well, that's where it all started, and people love that kind of comedy. Like people understanding that Peter's not that bright. Lois is not really that bright, even though she thinks that she is. She's like a very like concerning mother, but at the same time, there's episodes where she fucking hates her kids, or she like doesn't want to deal with her kids, or wants to deal with other such things, or hang out with Peter. Um, Meg, everybody hates on Meg, and I kind of got over that. I thought that it was kind of getting like lackluster. Chris, I think, was kind of like branching out a bit, but then they kind of reverted it, and it's just like whatever. Stewie's
I
the
never.
same as ever. It's very like it's
Do you
very
still watch
straightforward.
it?
No, but, but I know that I've seen a lot of, like, new scenes lately,
I
and
don't
it's
know
like
anybody. I don't know one person that still watches Family Guy. Yet,
right.
yet Family Guy is still on. It's weird. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's well, it's
You
the
know,
same thing with The Simpsons.
Yes, and I have always said The Simpsons should have ended with episode 300, the episode where like Tony Hawk was in it and Blink were in it and all. I was like, that should have been the last episode of The Simpsons. They should have just put it to bed on the 300th episode, and that should have been it because nobody's watching it anymore. The only entertainment I get out of The Simpsons these days is how they're predicting the future, like the whole kind of real world shit. That's the only thing I want to see out of The Simpsons. Like, it's like
I
I'm
mean,
not going to watch the episodes, but I'm curious to see like because there's all these like conspiracies that the creators of Mason and all this stuff, and they're predicting the future and all this
mhm.
crazy shit. That's the only part of The Simpsons that I actually enjoy nowadays. But Family Guy for me, I think it was like the first 6 seasons. I loved it, and then I just lost interest in it altogether. Love
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother, by the way. I'm actually doing a rewatch of it at the moment, and my girlfriend, who's watching Gossip Girl, is just great, tells me that How I Met Your Mother's bad. I'm like, what? I was like, because she liked it when she first watched it, but it was one of these shows where it's like the rewatch, it just doesn't work. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't agree. I hate Ted, but it's funny because it's one of the only shows that I know of where so many people hate the main actor. Like Ted Mosby is the most annoying person in the world, and you hate him. But I'll watch it for like Marshall and Barney and Robin and stuff. I'll watch it for
Right.
the rest of them, but I hate Ted. You know?
Yeah, I get that. And it's always a laugh tracks with me, man. Like I can't do
Yeah,
sitcoms anymore. Like it's one of
yeah.
those things where like I'm not a fan of it anymore.
I
I
I find
did
I
like
find it's nice. It's nice to just throw on. So for me, like I'll watch an episode or two of How I Met Your Mother, like when I finish work and the dinner's on and I'm feeding my daughter, all this sort of shit, and there's like stuff going on in the house, and it's just something to have on the TV, bit of background noise and stuff like that. Like I'm not really paying attention to it. Like Modern Family is great for that.
I
How I
want to
Met Your
see Modern
Mother.
Family. I
Modern
kind of
Family's
like
fantastic, bro.
I
It's
heard it was great.
fantastic. It's fantastic. I watched it when it was new, so I watched it all through, like throughout the whole running of the show, and then when me and my girlfriend started living together, she said she'd never seen it before, and I was like, "Oh my god, we have to do a playthrough of this show!" Like, and we watched it from start to finish. She absolutely loved it, and then we went back and like literally, we finished the last episode, and I was like, "Let's go back to the start. Let's see how young the kids are at the start." Because like the show runs for like something like 11 years or something. So
Mhm.
by the time you go back to the start, it's like, "Oh my god, the kids are so young and all." And then it's just like you watch episode one, and you watch episode two, and then before you know it, you're finished season one again. Like it kind of just goes in circles. Like
Oh yeah. And
it's great.
you watch Scrubs, right?
Um, yes, I
Yeah.
absolutely adore Scrubs.
Right.
Love Donald Fraser, and I love Zach Braff. Like, and I just love that the fact that the two of them are best friends in real life as well. Like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love that
So
sort of shit. Like, I love when actors get together, become brothers in shows, and then become brothers in real life. It's like why I
right.
love Supernatural as well. It's like the two dudes in that show are like best friends in real life. They were best mans at each other's weddings, and they lived together for years and all this sort of stuff. Like, and shit like that is just beautiful to me.
See, and that's the funny thing is like when I saw the trailers for Scrubs and like the advertisements for Scrubs, in my head I'm like, this doesn't really look like it's gonna fit me. This doesn't really look like it's gonna work for me. Like I feel like it's gonna be like another sitcom, but it's very wacky and it's not gonna really like do anything for me.
Have you never
And
seen
so,
Scrubs?
well, okay, well here's the thing. I talked to Katie and Katie's like, you've never seen Scrubs. And I'm like, no. It's like she's like, I honestly think you would like it. And I'm like, really? Because and she knows me pretty well now. So like she's
Yeah,
like, I thought so then we go through it and I actually like I'm like, okay, I'm digging this.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, okay, so it's fun. So it's not over the top. It's just pretty fun. It's like one of those things where people are just doing things while they're in the hospital. And I can believe that because I used to work at a hospital. Like
yeah.
I was just
Oh wow.
I was a food server. So like
Oh
I
cool.
would deliver food to the patients, but like I would see the nurses and whatnot. And yes, those nurses are not like the enthusiastic nurses that we tend to see, but like at the very least, I've seen what it looks like to have patients around. They're doing things, they're coming out and like people are interacting and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um, Scrubs kind of brings that life of like the nurses and like the future doctors,
yeah,
and then being trained by a professional doctor. And
yeah.
so the idea in my head was like, okay, so it's just all good until it wasn't, and then I'm like and then I'm crying. There's episodes where I'm fucking
Dude,
crying. There's
bro,
episodes where I'm
this
fucking, like, in tears. I'm like
falling. Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
and Katie's, like, sitting there, she's like, "I had to hold this back." Like, like, the fucking Brendan Fraser episode, like,
oh dude.
I couldn't take it, dude. I couldn't. I was
Where JD's like the cock. Where do you think we are? And then he just snaps out of it. Oh, bro,
dude,
like that.
no,
The
like,
first
it's
time I
that
saw that, I was like, "What the hell just
yeah,
happened?" Like,
because
I
I
couldn't
was
believe what was happening to me. Like, I was like, "What?"
because they were
Yeah,
walking, I'm like, and they're walking. I'm happy, like I'm smiling and everything, and I'm
yeah,
with Katie, and Katie's holding my hand, and I don't
yeah.
know why. And then all of a sudden, like Brendan Fraser goes, "Now you have to do one more thing." And Dr. Crosby goes, "What?" It's like you need to forgive yourself.
Hmm.
And he's like, "What do you mean?" And then Zach is like, "What?
Where
What
do
are
you
you
think
talking
we
about,
are?
man? Yeah,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
do you
yeah.
think
Oh,
we
it's
are?"
fucking crazy.
And I'm like, "Oh,
This,
I'm gonna cry so hard." And I look over and
this.
Katie's just bawling, and I'm like, "What are you doing to me?"
Yeah, dude, that show, like as goofy and funny as it is, it plucks on the heartstrings many, many times. Like, have you seen every episode of it?
Not
You've
yet.
seen it
We're
all?
we're
Oh,
we're
okay.
almost done. We're almost done. We're almost all caught up.
Yeah, yeah. So like there's episodes in there and it's just I don't know, it's like they use the music in it perfectly as well. Like the music, they hit the music at the right time, they get emotional songs in with emotional scenes and it just
Mhm.
it tears you apart. Like it
The
really does. Like
The fucking episode where the comedian lady, like, she comes in and she was sick, and,
mm,
like, they thought it was because she was, like, on drugs, and
yeah,
then, like, she was a match for, like, to donate blood or to give organs to some other patients, and then
yeah.
they
They
misread
find
the
out
fucking thing, and it
they
turns out
find
she
out
had
she's sick.
rabies, and then it was like, "You're
Maybe.
they're dead!" And then he
Yeah,
runs into the office, and then they're, like, they're dying, and you hear the fucking "How to Save a Life" song, and I'm like,
yeah,
"This is bullshit!"
yeah. So I don't know if you know, but you know Dr. Cox's wife in the show? That's
Yeah.
actually the creator of the show, Bill Lawrence's name. That's his wife in real life, and she's the one who's like in charge of all the music and stuff. So every time I'm watching, I'm just like, "Fuck you for picking all this emotional
Right?
music."
She
Like
picked the perfect
you're,
moment.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's crazy. I think that This Is Us as well is another one that you'll just even from the first episode, and like I would say I'm kind of heartless in a lot of things. Like I don't find a lot of stuff sad. Like I'm very hard to break. But This Is Us is one of those shows where like they do like it's the show's there. If you ever want to have a cry, watch This Is Us. Like because even from the first episode, you're kind of just sitting there, just like, oh my god, I'm gonna burst here. Like like it just hits you in the feels every single time. And that's one of those shows where as well where they know perfectly how to match music with emotional moments and just really like escalate like and bring emotions out of you. Like it's crazy. Like I'd look over. I hope my girlfriend doesn't listen to this, but like I'd look over at her almost every episode, and we were watching that kind of weekly at a lot of the times as well. And I'd look over at her all the time, and she'd have like tears rolling down her face, and she'd be like, "Don't look at me," like, and like, because I know when stuff is sad, but like stuff would very rarely like make me actually shed a tear. But like
Yeah.
I'd look over at her. I know it's sad, and I know I should be upset and crying and blah blah blah. But and I'd look over at her, and she'd just be like ball, and she'd be like, "Don't look at me, don't look at
Yeah. Well,
me."
like, and
Hilariously.
I know you're not a big anime fan, but there are certain anime shows that do the exact same thing, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's not about like it's not about like the powers that they have. It's not about like that they're magical beings. It's not about like that they're ninjas or anything. Like there's no Naruto. It's not Black Clover. It's not. This is like it's just a show that lasted like 24 episodes, I think, and it's about a guy who has like trauma in his heart whenever he plays the piano, and he finds a girl who can play the violin beautifully with him. So like they form like a kind of a duet. And I know you're never going to see this, so I just want to say like it gets so fucking sad because like it's a whole thing of like the mother's like an asshole to him, like always trying to make him be like the best that he can be, but she's not doing as well. So she's like berating him, telling him he's worthless and whatnot. And then this girl comes in and tells him like you're not worthless, like you're a great person. And then she dies.
Oh no.
And then he has to play
Yeah.
remembering and just
Oh god,
it's
yeah.
so fucking he's crying while he's playing. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's so fucking sad. And
Yeah,
it's like,
like to be honest, like I try like I don't know, it's like I kind of don't find enjoyment in watching stuff like that because it's like it's a little too real and like I think
right?
yeah, it's like I'm like I sit when I sit down and turn on my TV, I want to be entertained. You know what I mean? Or I want to be scared, or I want to laugh, or you know what I mean, or I want to be like blown away by something like superhero wise, magical, whatever, Star Wars, anything I love. Like the last thing I want to do is sit down and like cry. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing
Yeah,
I want
dude.
to do. And like their shows like, and This Is Us was one of the rare exceptions where it was a show where I knew
You
this
just couldn't
show
help
is
it.
made to make you cry. You wanted, this is all the miserable stuff that happens in life.
Yeah.
But it was one of those shows that where it was just so good that I had to watch it. Like, whereas if it was mediocre, I would have said, I just can't watch this anymore because it's just, it's like the show is like guilt tripping people into just like crying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
Right.
like, it's just, yeah, like I don't know. It's like crying porn or something. Like it's just like
Right.
it's the most outrageous like fucking show when it comes to it. Like it's seriously is like honestly like every episode is aimed to just break you down emotionally. Like
Right.
so And like I think there's times where you probably need that. Like you need to feel those emotions. So it's a perfect show for it.
Well, then that's why afterwards you go watch The Boys so that it turns from crying to what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like what was
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Exactly. Um. Actually, funny enough, because Enviro's bringing up Smallville, and the one of the main characters in This Is Us plays the Green Arrow on Smallville. Your
Oh,
man
nice.
Justin Hartley. Yeah, he's fantastic in the show. Absolutely fantastic.
Hell yeah.
Um. Yeah, like it's self-abuse. Yeah, you're right. Like
It's
watching
so
sad stuff
weird.
with self-abuse.
Well, it's one of those things where like it shows that like you have a point where you're like you have that emotion. Like it kind of
Yeah,
shows like okay, you have a little bit of understanding how like emotional this situation is.
hmm
There and I totally get it because there are men in this world and even women who will bury that shit deep inside even if it's a sad moment. They'll try to think of something funny just so that they don't have to like cry
yeah,
about it.
yeah, for sure,
Um
sure. I
but
I
like
kind of think I'm like that sometimes. I
but
definitely
like
push
I do this
emotions down.
oh dude, sometimes I do that just because I don't want to cry too hard.
Yeah,
Like, you know.
yeah, yeah.
It-
I
it-
think. Yeah.
yeah.
Moving on.
But yeah. So back all the way back to Blue Beetle. It's a really good watch. I don't think that it should be seen as like a flop. I really think that it's being designed to be a flop only for the fact that because the theaters are not bringing in slots for them. They're not getting
Yeah.
enough room. They're not going to get enough money. And if they do get enough money and it becomes a success, then maybe that'll drive that whole feeling of like here's the superhero movie that like some people really need. Because
Mm.
it gives you everything. You know, it gives you the love interest that eventually comes around. It gives you the family. It gives you hijinks here and there. But it wasn't like overly done. I think that the only thing overdone in your eyes, excuse me, was the grandmother, right? Like
Just the whole family dynamic was a bit little too much for me. And
it
again,
it
it's a cultural difference. That's
right.
that's the only reason why it felt alien to me. Like that's just me the way I am. Like that's just my culture. Like so, it's just yin and yang. It's just
Right.
different.
So I was reaching that point at the very beginning because I thought like, okay, this is going to be a typical like superhero movie where you're clearly going to have nothing but like silliness. Everyone's going to be dumb. Nobody's going to be able to like be actually helpful. Everything's going to happen based on a miracle.
Mhm.
Um and like the suit's going to be ridiculously uncomfortable and unfunny because it's like trying to be like oh whatever kind of like tech but it actually gave you like a little hint that it was going to do that and then eventually it kind of turned around and was like no we're actually going to be a smart tech actually going to give you something to think about and like all the things that like there's endless possibilities. It's a lot like the Green Lantern, like whatever you can think of we can make a weapon out of it. So
Yeah.
like it really worked in that sense because then eventually they mind linked, they became one, and so now he's able to like create whatever he wanted. And so like I was thinking when I saw like the trailer and they're like, oh man, he's gonna create a big ass two-handed sword and it's gonna be the lamest fucking fight ever. Uh, it was fun.
Yeah.
That was a
I
good
liked it.
fight. Like
I thought it was
yeah,
great.
yeah, and the fact that like showing that there's acrobatics and things that he can do and that the suit's assisting him with that because he clearly doesn't have any like military or like combat experience. It's
Mhm.
training him, it's mind linked so like he's able to maneuver no problem. And I
Yeah,
think it really shows at that point like in the hallway between like him and his sister and so like he's kicking the shit out of all the guards. And I'm like
that was
this
sick.
is this that's sick. That's a superhero fucking thing to do. It shows that he's really like in tune with the suit now. He really understands what he needs to go through. Also, by the
Yeah,
way, Blue Beetle was co-created by Steve Ditko, who
yeah,
also,
yep,
Spider-Man.
yep,
So
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
it writes for itself. Like it
yeah,
basically like they knew what kind of person Blue Beetle was. It did have the same feel as Spider-Man in some cases, but that's fine because he's a young character. Well, like
yeah.
it's not the original Blue Beetle that we saw. Like was it like Ted Cord? Um,
Ted Cord is the original Blue Beetle. Yeah, it
right.
kind of it kind of follows it's a similar story, and I've seen a lot of comparison online to Ant Man. The way like Hank Pym was the
Oh yeah.
original Ant Man and so on. Yeah, it kind of gets like yeah, like Blue Beetle was created long before Ant-Man, but
Mhm.
I think Ant-Man is a more successful movie, so a lot of people are thinking that Blue Beetle is just a copy of Ant-Man, which is wrong technically. But
But
I
even then,
I I I did like it. Like there was a question there, like, do you think Blue Beetle could beat Iron Man? And to be honest, like the Scarab is like a planet destroying weapon. So I would say yes on paper,
yeah,
probably.
possibly.
Yeah,
It just
probably.
it really depends because like if you give it's like Batman, you give Batman like a little bit of time. He's seen the character, he
Yeah,
takes it like he fucks off for a minute and then comes back and then they have their fight.
yeah.
Batman's gonna have the upper hand because he had time to plan it out and to be ahead.
Well,
Iron Man is kind of like almost a planner, but like more of in the moment.
mhm,
So, like, it really helps to kinda drive that situation of, like, I think Iron Man and Blue Beetle would be a good match.
mhm,
I think that it would be a bit harder for Iron Man in the sense that, like, he would have to call in extra things to assist against Blue Beetle, mainly for the fact that, like, Blue Beetle can just make anything. He can make energy
well, this is
pulsar
it.
beams,
Yeah,
like, he can fire him off at, like, Iron Man. He can, like, throw shit. He can stab him. He can cut him into pieces. But that
well,
doesn't
this is
mean
the
that Iron
thing.
Man isn't smart. Like, he Iron
Iron Man
Man's the
has
fucking
to have the tech invented before the fight. You know what I mean?
right.
Whereas Blue Beetle could be like, "Oh, this guy's using like cannons. Okay, create bigger cannons than what he has." You know what I mean? Like, or it's like, "Oh, he's using lasers. Okay, let's get lasers that are twice as powerful as his." You know,
Right.
like Blue Beetle can just imagine shit as the fight's happening, and the Scarab, as we saw in the movie, again, like you know, this is the origin of it. Like, so we're seeing level one here. You know what I mean? As
Right.
they become more in sync and more advanced and um Riaz learns like how to actually fucking like properly sync with it and use it to its full potential. Like Blue Beetle becomes an absolute antichrist. Like it's crazy,
Right,
you
and
know. So
it's the
and you
same
can even
thing as
see it in the
Spider-Man.
movie, like when the Scarab takes over and he's like, "Do you mind if I take over now?" And then he's like doing all the ninja shit and
Yeah,
everything. That was sick. Like it was really cool. I really
yeah,
liked it.
and it's the same thing as Spider-Man. Spider-Man has, like, almost limitless potential, but he tends to hold back because
Yeah.
he could literally punch
Oh,
a
you
dude's
could.
head off.
Yeah, of course.
He
Yeah.
just
Turning people to pink mist, like, if he hits them too hard.
oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, 100%. Like, even in the MCU, like, what, Peter was, like, 14 in Civil War, wasn't he? I think 14?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Spider-Man was, like, 14 in Civil War, I believe, in the
I think
storyline,
so, yeah. Yeah, I think
and
so.
he's, like, grabbing Bucky's arm and twisting it around and all, he's, like, just playing with him, he's like, "Oh, you have a metal arm and all," and it's like,
Yeah,
"Whoa," like, he's just, like, toying with, like, super soldiers and shit, it's crazy. Yeah, yeah, it's insane.
it's
Um
awesome.
Question in the chat as well. Do you prefer watching TV or do you prefer like movies or TV more?
Um,
That's a hard question
that is a
for
hard
me personally.
question.
It's a very hard question. Like it really depends. Um, I love sitting down with like a good TV show to watch. Like there's no better feeling than having like an amazing show to just sit back and binge. You know what I mean? Like if you are a couple of years late to a show that's fantastic and you've got like 3 or 4 seasons to watch, that's just amazing. I love sitting down with my missus at the weekend and like, we could sit and watch like 4 or 5 episodes of a show and it's just fantastic. Then on the flip side, I love movies. Like I love like physically going to the cinema to watch a film. Like, movies are what I think like made me who I am in a lot of cases. Like, you know what I mean? Like Spider-Man, Star Wars, all this sort of stuff. Like I think they shaped the person who I am today. So I think cinema's incredibly important to me. I can't I can't put them against each other, to be honest. Like I think, they both have special places in my heart. Like, some like if you think about some of the greatest TV shows ever, like like you can sit down and watch them multiple times, like, and they're still as special as they were the first time you watched them. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like in my family, like The Sopranos is a massive show in my family. Like my parents watch it once a year. Every time a new version of it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever, like I always buy the box set for my parents so they have the latest version of it and stuff. Like, so it's like shit like that's just like really important. Like I love like shows like The Wire, like hey, anything HBO put out, like Game of Thrones, like I
Mhm.
love Entourage, everything. Like, you know what I mean? I'm big into TV, but I also like, cinema has just a place in my heart forever. So
Yeah. I can agree in that case. But I also learned that when it comes to TV and movies, it really depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell and whether or not it can be told within a couple of hours.
yeah,
Um, Lord of the Rings could have easily been a show. It could have easily been because it was like 3 hours long, but the fact that like they're like, no, well, we can put this into a 3 hour movie, which is like very draining at times. But if you're really into that fantasy style, which like I am 100%, um, I'll sit down and watch the whole thing. Um,
Lord of the Rings only popped into my head today. It's funny that you bring it up. Like I don't know what I was listening to a song or something. I was listening to a song today. I think I was in the gym today and I was listening to a song and like the Lord of the Rings like music came in my head like for some reason.
mhm.
You know, they're like dun, 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 you know, like the war music where they're
Yeah,
all like battling and
with
all.
the
That
Urukai and the
yeah, like that shit was in my head today, and I was just like, I just thought to myself, those movies are perfection. Like
oh yeah, they're
honestly,
phenomenal.
honest perfection. Like from Fellowship all the way to Return of the King. I watched only recently. I watched just before we moved into this house. Actually, I did a full rewatch, and we pretty much did it in one day. But I watched the extended cuts of the original three movies, which
Oh
is 12 hours, and I did them all in a row one day when I was like had nothing to
shit.
do. I think I might have had did I have COVID at the time? I don't think I had COVID at the time, but I think I was like on my like Christmas holidays or something like that. Like I had no work or anything like that. And we did all fucking like 12 hours and it was magic, man. It was
I bet.
magic. I loved every second of it. It was incredible. And those movies, like, just they again because a lot of it was practical, so they're not relying on like shit or CGI for the times.
Mhm.
They still look amazing. They look so good. They look like even like Two Towers, the big battle scene. You're just kind of like, this is so big because again, it was practical. They had like hundreds and hundreds of extras and it was just it felt
It
real
was
because it
massive.
was real. It was actually shot, like, it was practical, like, it was crazy.
Mostly in New
Um,
Zealand, right?
yes, yeah, it was all shot in New Zealand, yeah. And I think they did all 3 movies at once. They shot them all, like, as one big giant thing and then split it out to the 3 movies,
See,
like, so.
see, and I watched like a short review on Blue Beetle, like just some random video. I just wanted to see like what people thought of it.
Yeah.
And one person was like, the with the CG like with the way this movie is, this movie really feels like it could have been done in like 2004. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean 2004? Like CG was shit back then. Those like that moment in the movie where Blue Beetle gets hit by like the whips from like the carapace, like
Mhm.
that looked amazing. Can you imagine if they had done Iron Man 2 and they had that like whip CG tech?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
would have looked so much better.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have looked all clunky.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know what this person is thinking. I think they're just way too into the idea that like, "Oh, it's another superhero movie, so I guess it's just typical shit." Like
Yeah.
it's not. Never that. You should never take it as such for that, unless it literally does the exact same thing that we've seen in like a previous movie that just came out. Then it's like, okay, you're just piggybacking off of someone else. Blue Beetle did really good with their choreography. They did really good with their CG
Yeah.
effects. I know it was shot at night because of that, because there were so many things that they wanted to like CG and they didn't want to show any of the flaws because it's really hard to do CG like during the day. It's very flawed. Um,
Yeah, like, they utilize darkness and shadows and all that sort of
which
stuff on
is
purpose,
which
yeah.
is fine
Sure.
because it looks fine. But I do got to say that one scene where like there was like flashing lights, I'm like, oh shit, whoever has epilepsy is gonna get fucked right now. Like,
Yeah, to be honest, like I didn't really have too many problems with the film. Like I think 7 out of 10 is a good score for a DC movie in today's day and age. Like like I think like I'm a big Snyder fan. I have a special place in my heart for those movies. So for me, like those are like the epiphany of DC at the moment. But I
it,
think just with all these like kind of standalone, like I know they're supposed to be connected, but they're not really. Like they're kind of standalone B and C kind of tier superheroes and stuff. Like, what do you expect? Like, what are you
yeah,
expecting going into Blue Beetle? Like, are you expecting it to be as good as the Batman? Like, of course it's not going to be as good as the Batman.
I
Do you
would
know what I mean?
hope you
Like,
wouldn't think that.
yeah, like, well, I think some people give it this like unrealistic expectation that every superhero movie has to be Infinity War, otherwise it's shit. Like, it's like that's
Yeah,
not the
it
case at all. You know what I mean?
and that's
Know what you're watching and go into it with a realistic expectation.
exactly, man. Like people keep setting the bar too high. Just because we reached like such a high with
Yeah,
Infinity War and Endgame doesn't mean we can't go back to the bottom. That's why it's called a fucking roller coaster, man. Like
exactly.
you need we need to go back down so that we can build back up and get to another drop. Like
Yeah.
it's gotta be that feeling of like, okay, we need to relax now.
Yeah.
And so like, and that's why I think that Loki is kind of doing everything like an injustice because of the fact that like it basically set everything in motion to like go into overdrive, and then they do nothing with it. Because like when you open the multiverse and you give a big reason for the multiverse to exist,
Yeah.
why aren't you messing with it? Like we had What If, but you're just making an animated series of What If, which is not even that great. It was fun, but like there were a lot of episodes where we're like that was kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was up and down for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
and then
there
like
was,
the go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, each episode of that show just felt like its own kind of like Star Wars Visions. They were all like separate. Like, it all felt like it was completely separate stories, told by separate people. Like, no kind of connectivity at all, except maybe the last episode kind of referenced or brought together a few of the characters from previous episodes. So I suppose by the end there was a bit of a payoff, but definitely watching that week by week, it just didn't feel connected at all. But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy What If. I
I
haven't actually gone back and rewatched any of the episodes. Um, or maybe I think I went back and rewatched episode 4 with the Evil Strange because I heard that he was going to be a Multiverse of Madness. So I was like, oh shit, I better rewatch this. But then I think it kind of turned out to be maybe a different Strange. I kind of think that was
so
like an incorrect leak or like, slightly incorrect leak. But
so
I'll watch season 2. I
yeah,
think
of
it'll be
course.
interesting. Yeah.
So the way I see it with What If, it doesn't have to be connected, but it should be connected in terms of, let's say, each universe. I don't know. Did they number each universe that they had like a story for?
In What If?
Yeah.
I
Did
don't think
they
so.
So because of that, it just feels like they were just looking at a comic book and going like, yeah, so these are what ifs. But like they never gave any sort of in like translation into what that entails. Like, why is this a different change of story? Like at what
Yeah.
point does this become like an issue?
Hmm.
And it's mainly because like those are supposed to be different universes. And they like
Yeah.
if they don't imply that, then they're just saying like these are just different realities. It
Yeah.
kind of like it doesn't translate the same way. Like you have to really say these are different universes. This is universe number such and such. This is a universe that but like they kind of explain it, but it's like not. It just doesn't feel interconnected because it doesn't say like it's a multiverse. It just
Yeah.
shows that the watcher is going through the looking glass. He's checking out some of the stories that he wants to watch. He sees that there's a lot of things going on, and then there are some moments where some people can see the watcher, and which by the way, did you finish Secret Invasion?
Not yet. No.
Ah, dude, you gotta fucking
I
finish it.
know. I know.
It's
I know. I
like
will. I
not
promise. I promise you. This is a promise. Live on air. I promise you. I will have it finished for next week's
okay.
podcast.
Well, I'm gonna do a minor spoiler because it's not like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
The
No, it's fine.
watcher the watcher shows up in Secret Invasion.
I'll sick. Nice. Yeah.
He's
That's cool.
he's literally watching what's about to happen because he's like, what the
Cool.
fuck?
Yeah. 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 That's
So
cool.
like it's like he's a big deal.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
so like that's what I felt was the whole point of like What If, but like if they're not interconnecting and saying like this is part of the multiverse, and we're only being told outside of the show that it's like part of the multiverse, it's like yeah, but you're not really translating it well enough. And also
I
like
think they'll double down on it in season 2. I think season 1 was to kind of dip people's toes into the fact that the multiverse is just so expansive and so on. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that might have been the first project that really delved into the multiverse, like different versions of characters.
yeah.
Yeah, so like, I think season 1 they kind of have to tread lightly for the normies, as we call them.
Mhm.
Like the fact that you've got like a T'Challa version of Star Lord, like normal fans are kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
I thought that was
I
a
suppose you
cool
got it.
episode.
It was great. I loved it. But
Yeah.
I think if you're kind of a normal fan, you'd be like, what the hell's going on here? You
Yeah,
know,
like
or like
they're like, what the
to,
fuck?
yeah, like, or to be honest, like they probably wouldn't even watch it to begin with. I think you kind of have to be a bit of a nerd or a bit of a geek to be watching that sort of stuff anyway. Like, because I know so many people that like even just because something is animated, they won't even give it a chance. Like, like grown
Yeah,
people are
Finto.
just like,
Yeah,
no,
Finto.
that's not true. That's not true. I
You
don't
and your
like a lot of the
animes.
I don't like a lot of like the Japanese animated stuff, but I'm gonna watch like
I know. I'm just
you know
giving you shit, buddy.
I know. And plus, I'm watching Demon Slayer. Fuck you. I'm a
Yeah,
Demon
like
Slayer fan.
and like I don't know. Have you had a chance to watch any more? Or
I think I'm on episode like 20 or 21 now. So yeah,
Fuck yeah, dude.
I'm kicking in
So
like
you're
so.
you're like you're dealing with all the spider demons.
Just finished that arc. Yeah,
Fucking, what'd you think?
yeah,
What'd you think of the fucking the finale part with the Hinokami Kagura when he
yeah,
like
yeah.
learns like this like fire breathing?
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah, I was gonna mention that to you, like the whole when he like because obviously it's all water based powers or whatever at the start. So yeah, when
Yeah,
he learns the fire breathing, that was fucking sick.
right.
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't like now. Maybe this is a hot take, but the blonde dude. I don't know what his name is. Can't think of his name.
If you're gonna tell me you don't like him, Katie doesn't like him either.
I hate him, bro. I hate him. Every time
Shades.
he's on, every time he's on screen, I keep thinking to myself, "This is why I don't watch anime." Like like he's constantly like fucking screaming, and he's like doing all the like, "Don't talk to me like this," and blah, 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 and he's like doing all that crap where he's just going mad. I'm like, this is why I don't watch anime. You know,
Right. I have a
honestly, like,
stat like, and I have a statue of him. Like, I love that guy.
I'm
Like,
sure
he's
by like the time the show finishes, I'm sure he's great. I can kind of see him developing a little bit.
mhm.
Like when he starts getting those like electric powers. Like for the whole
Yeah,
like start of the show, he's hiding in trees and everything. I'm like, how is this fucking kid a demon slayer? Like, how did he
right.
pass the trials? I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then like he only has one form and he's like perfected that form or whatever. So I'm like, okay, he must be very good at form one or whatever. But then I'm like, when you see him like starting to like conduct electricity and so I'm like, oh, okay, right, okay, he's gonna come out of his shell a bit. Like, so
Mhm.
maybe I'll like him in season 2 or whatever. But
So
right now I'm like, oh fuck this guy. He's so annoying. I
so
hate him.
so th so that's the thing, like, I'm not trying to spoil or anything to you right now, Finto, but I will tell you this. So when it comes to those characters,
Mhm.
um, you know that the pillars are like the Hashira, like, they're a very strong group of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever have you run into them yet?
Um, is this like are you talking about the demons that are like connected to the main boss? Like they're like
N
the kind of
No,
are
no,
these the good guys? Sorry.
these are the good guys.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think I've seen. Is this the guy and the girl who are going? They're going looking for Tanjiro or whatever his name is
Yeah, okay.
in
So then
season one.
I won't say much more then because I was gonna say something, but I don't think I should.
I saw one of them guys, like the dude, the fella. Like there's the
Yeah,
girl and she has the purple eyes and stuff.
yeah.
Like she's cool.
She's
But then
yeah, she's a pillar as well.
yeah, so the dude is like super strong. The guy, what's the guy's name with the boar head? I love him. He's
Oh,
hilarious.
Inosuke.
Yeah, he's good. I like him. He's a bit again. He does kind of the outrageous shit that I don't like sometimes. Like he's a bit over the top. Like I just don't like when they start screaming and all. Like it's just like calm down.
That is
Just
Katie.
calm. Just calm down a
Calm the
little bit.
fuck down.
We don't need to be screaming right now. You know what I mean? I'm just like, let's chill. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
don't need to hear it all the time, bro. It's just too much. So like, but I think he's cool. He's a cool character. Like, but
Yeah.
when he's fighting the spider dad or whatever, the big dude, and they can't like penetrate with their knives, they can't like cut his arms off or anything. They're like,
Right.
this guy's too powerful. And then this dude, who whatever you call him, the pillar, he comes in and he just like one chop just takes an arm off straight away. You're just like, oh shit, these guys are like next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I like that the blonde dude, whatever his name is. I like that he was like that he's crushing on Tanjiro's sister and all. The
Oh
the
yeah,
vampire.
Zenitsu. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty funny. He's like, when she comes
But
out of the box and all, he's freaking out. He's like, "Oh my god, the demon's gone out of the
why
box!"
didn't
And
you
all
tell
this.
me there was a beautiful lady?
Yeah, yeah. And he's just like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, he just like crushes on her straight away.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that was pretty funny.
Well, you'll see more of like the development as you go along. Like
Yeah,
eventually they
I
have
think
to
I,
get stronger.
I think I'll definitely finish season 1 this week, like this coming week. Yeah, I'm
Eh,
working. I've got 2 full days on site and work, so usually I just watch like 3 episodes. Like I speed it up. Like I watch it at
Of
1.5
course.
speed with the English dubs on, and they talk kind of fast, and I think it just works. And then I can get through the episodes quicker, so I can squeeze 3 in on my lunch break then,
That's great.
which is nice. Yeah, it's good.
So, but like I said before, I recommend that when you're done with this season,
Oh yeah, you gotta watch the second one as the movie.
yes, make sure to
Yeah,
watch that as a movie because it's very short, very very
yeah,
short.
yeah. I will. I will. I'll do the second one as a movie for sure.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
what you think.
Look, next week on the podcast we have Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah,
It's going to be epic, bro. Like
I'm
honestly,
hoping.
the build up for this show has me excited. I'm very fucking excited. I haven't been this excited about a Star Wars show since I was let down by Kenobi, but we won't talk about that. But No, I think Dave's got us in good hands this time. Like some of the stuff that I've been seeing in the build up has just been crazy. You know, there's been trailers where you can hear Anakin talking about the Clone Wars and stuff like that. So it's kind of confirming flashbacks to the Clone Wars and all. Oh, bro, I'm very excited. I actually sat up last night, and I watched the very last episode of Rebels because I haven't actually seen a lot of the Rebels. Again, it's kind of even Clone Wars. I haven't seen every episode of Clone Wars either. I think like sometimes there's episodes that are just fantastic. Like there's some of the episodes that surround Anakin and stuff that are some of the best Star Wars ever. But then a lot of it is just really boring to me. You know, like episodes that just revolve around the clones is just boring to me. So I want to watch all the Ahsoka stuff, all the Anakin stuff, all the Obi-Wan stuff, the Darth Maul stuff, amazing. The Mandalorian stuff, incredible. You know, but then it's just when you're talking about the clones and stuff, it's just kind of like it's very skippable.
Oh yeah.
And I thought the same thing with Rebels. There was Rebels episodes that were really good. Like Ahsoka has like a fight with Vader in season 2. Like it's incredible. Like, but then most of the show is just kind of boring to me. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the last episode to see where like Ezra goes and all this sort of stuff. So I'm ready. I'm ready for Ahsoka, and I think it's gonna be incredible. So we'll have 2 episodes. They actually pushed it forward, so it's on Tuesday. So it airs in 2 days. It'll be on Disney Plus in 2 days. The first 2 episodes, and apparently I was watching some of the reviews from people who got to actually see it early. No spoilers, but apparently there's more lightsaber action in these first 2 episodes of the show than there has been in the entire sequel trilogy.
Wow. That's a lot
Yeah,
to say too.
exactly. Like, so we did like 3 movies or whatever, like of the sequel trilogy. There's actually more like Jedi and lightsaber action in the
Good.
first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, which is wild to me. You
Good.
know, and I think Dave said it in an interview. He's like, look, you know, Star Wars is all about lightsabers and the Force and Jedi and stuff, and we need to put on good fights because our fans know the difference between good and bad lightsaber fights. And it's kind of like, is he taking a shot at the sequels there? I'm like, what? Like, but like Dave knows, like, this is what we want. You know what I mean? Like, so I really have high hopes that this is going to be a good show. So I'm very excited to sit down and talk about it next week. So we'll be going full blown next week into Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2. It's going to be great. We'll talk about Secret Invasion comic as well. I'll have it done. I promise you.
Yes.
And then maybe I'll have a recap for the entire first season of Demon Slayer. I'll probably be finished that too. So next week's podcast is probably going to be a great one. Also, just want a little announcement for everybody. If you listen to podcasts on like Google or Apple or Spotify or anything, I actually was working during the week this week. I've taken over full management of the podcast. So I've started putting up episodes again. So we appear on all the sites now. We're on Google, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're everywhere. So I think the first episode I put up was episode 96 because the thing, you only get like 12 hours a month. So I couldn't go back. I wanted to go back and start with episode 1 again and re-upload them 1 a day for the next like 100 days. But I couldn't do it. So I started with episode 96 because that was our first review of Across the Spider-Verse, and that only kind of got released on digital. So I thought that'd be like kind of a nice episode to start with. But
Nice.
I've actually been listening back on some of them just to kind of see what they kind of sound like in the car and stuff like that. Like, and we sound really good on
That's good.
on Spotify and everything, which is great. Obviously, it's nice to hear. But like some of the stuff that we were talking about, like I was listening to like our reviews of like episodes 1 and 2 of like Secret Invasion and stuff. And like we were saying stuff that like came to pass and was like right and correct and everything. And it was hilarious. It's hilarious listening back to some of it. Because like I was talking about Rhodey being like a scroll the whole time from episode 1. And like again, it was obvious, but then I think you mentioned something about the him not using the suit or something.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the War Machine suit? Like, you know, where is it? Like, and I was just like, you know, this is obviously a budgeting thing, but they're going to write it into the story that he doesn't have the suit for some reason. And little did we know that we were 100% right the whole time. So, yeah, it was hilarious. It was great. So yeah, look, guys, I appreciate everybody who listened to us live. And if you are listening to us or watching this on a replay, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you think. If you are listening to us on Spotify or anything like that, let us know. Drop us a like. We're at Marvelous Chats on all the socials and everything. And yeah, look, we'll see you next week, guys. So have a good one. Bye.